Hello, 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 hello. We're back.
We are back with the fourth episode of Add Water and Stir.
Mimi, you know
Welcome.
that this means that we've been doing this for 2 months.
That is. I'm again proud of us because we almost didn't make it. I don't feel like we have a testimony this week.
I know everybody who's tuning in or will listen in the future, just know that this is the struggle cast.
Yes.
Like,
Just hang in with it.
just
It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. But we do have drinks on deck, so that
we
might help.
do. We do. We do. What are you sipping on this week?
I have this wine, some Pinot Noir. And actually, I have the bottle. It's an Oregon wine. I
Oh,
walked into the liquor store and was like, I need some wine. what's what's close? Okay, I'll take that bottle right there. Let's go. I did not put any thought into it. It was red. It was the right price. See, it started
I
already.
feel you. It's starting already. So I have a Tempranillo, 2013 Tempranillo from Spain. Compliments of Trader Joe's. It's
Trader
quite tasty.
Joe's has a nice wine collection, so
Yeah, it's the La Granja Tempranillo. I like Spanish reds, Argentinian reds, Australian reds. This one it's nice. It's good. It's good. So Mimi, tell us what's been going on over at Complicated Melody.
as you said, this has been the struggle 2 weeks. I had one blog post in the last 2 weeks, so that's really bad. But really, the blog post was about saying no to the adoption agency or the foster care agency when they called about a they had a 12-year-old boy that they were interested in us taking. And I don't know if it was specific to us. I like to think it's because I think my husband Wood is a great father, and I think he'd be great actually to father a boy. But I really just think they were looking for a place for this young man, and I felt so bad to say no, but it's just not the right thing for our family now. Um, Other than that, I celebrated a birthday. I forgot all about that. I celebrated a birthday
Happy
anniversary of my
birthday!
30th birthday. Um, I'm gonna say 30 till I'm 40. So because I forget. People are asking me how old I don't know, 30 plus something.
Somewhere in there.
So somewhere. And then when I turn 40, I can't, I'm kind of excited about 40. It's a ways off. Okay. So 30 plus. And, last week we talked about self-care. So the hubby took me out for a birthday dinner. It was really nice and sweet and romantic and,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
we just we signed our adoption subsidy packet this week. Yeah, so
Well,
we
that's
did
big news.
the negotiation, just the negotiation part of the adoption subsidy. So we can talk a little bit more about that. But if you are adopting a child from foster care, typically they can get an adoption subsidy depending on their age, depending on whether they're part of a minority group. And it's the same, it's a certain amount, so it's not really a true negotiation. Why you did you
Because I've
negotiate
been
your
through it. Yeah. No, it's like this is how much it is.
Yeah, that's it. Here's the paperwork. You can fill it out. You can put everything you want on there, but this is how much you're gonna get. I'm
This
like,
is how much
okay.
it is, and your options in negotiation are take it or
Yes,
leave it.
yes. Sign this paper or do not. Doesn't matter to us. So we did that, and we're just preparing. We actually sign our adoption paperwork on next Friday. So
Oh my goodness, finalization is next Friday?
no,
Oh,
there's
oh,
like
wait a minute.
multiple. There's layers to this.
Oh,
Adoption stuff. So we are signing the papers to move towards finalization,
okay, gotcha. Okay,
right?
no, I
The,
gotcha.
the
Yes,
interim step.
yes, gotcha. Well,
What about you?
congrats. That's
What's
still a big
been going
step.
on? I know it
Um,
is. So
So, yeah, I took my first extended business trip since Hope came to live with me. And it was interesting because I had a lot of anxiety about what was going to happen with that. Like, was my girl going to like hold it together for a week? And it turns out she was fine. She
And
was
what
better than
happened to
fine.
you?
I was fine, but the problem is the furry one started
Oh,
a big,
baby.
yeah, the furry one started a big decline, and he melted down nonstop the entire time. And so, what I found myself doing was texting and checking in to see how he was doing. Hope, fine, she good.
She was
She
having a
at Busch
ball.
Garden. She at Busch Garden. She's hanging out with the cousins. She fine. Fine.
Okay.
And so then she was kind of mad because, like, I didn't, my 2 days of remember when I was like, I'm going to lay in my bed, I got cookie
I've
dough, and
been waiting to ask you about these pajamas. I'm telling you, I've been thinking about it. Like, do they have footsies? Like, what are they made out of silk? I mean,
the winter ones
what
do
is
have
it about these
footies.
particular pajamas that you were so looking forward to?
It's like that really soft, like, oh, there's wonderful. But the winter ones do have footies. But, but,
Excuse me.
yeah, they do. They have footies. They're not sexy. It's okay. I don't care. So they're awesome. But I dropped everything the day after I got off the plane to head down there because I wanted to go get the dog
Yes,
and
of
bring him
course.
home. So treat yourself didn't happen.
We're
It
gonna
didn't
try again,
happen.
though. We're gonna try again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did get some treat yourself time while I was away. And oh, by the way, if we have anybody that's checking in from Denver, like y'all are all the way live. Like like people like you could just walk down the block and it's just like, wow, it is really legal here.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
It is
Now you
really,
would
really
treat
legal
yourself,
here. Like
APA.
just, just walking down the street and it was like, is it just me? Like, no, it's really kind of in the air.
So that was a
But
special treat.
it was a special treat. And yeah, I don't mention him often on the blog, but Elihu came out to see me and out in Denver, so we had a little boo time out there, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, Elihu. So he has a name. People on the blog, Elihu.
Yes, his blog name is Elihu. so so
Look how
yeah.
she's cheesing. That was a special treat. Okay, so
It was, it
two
was, it was
treats.
real, it was a treat yourself. So, but then I came back and like by, I guess the beginning of this week, I guess I blogged about it at the beginning of this week, maybe. I just melted down. I was like, I done had
Oh.
enough. I just like, and it was really, it's funny because I just kind of found everything was annoying.
Hmm.
And I really just kind of had a moment where I really missed my single no children having days where
Yes.
you can have the entire bottle of wine and some chocolate cake for dinner when you come home from work if you want to.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And I'm kind of supposedly a responsible grown up with a kid now. I can't really do that. So
Yes. You
and
can
so
watch what you want on the television. I remember you said that, but trust me, I had those moments just when it was me and Wood. So
right, yeah.
so
So
before kids, just another adult will make you feel like that too. So
yeah, and so, I just had this epic meltdown of just I really wanted to be selfish and I wanted some time and it was like and then I felt guilty about that because I'm like, isn't this what I wanted? And you just got back from Denver, but I worked in Denver, so it just I just kind of I just
hmm
had a bit of a meltdown and I just kind of was like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I want I want my pajamas. I want my pajamas, I want my cookies, I want my wine, and I want to lay in my bed. And I don't want to hear one GD question about anything.
GD.
I don't want to hear one dang question about anything because we are going through a period where we are like Hope is asking lots of questions about everything. I mean, it's just random stuff. Like,
Mhm.
You know, do you have to register the license plate every year? And does that mean that you also have to take a new picture? And what happens if you buy a new car? And how come I can't Skype? And am I going to get new minutes on the phone? Or, why do you watch this TV show? Because I just do. Why don't you like milkshakes? Because I just don't.
Ooh, I'm exhausted just listening to this list of questions.
I just, I'm like, I'm a hardcore extrovert, Mimi, hardcore extrovert. But I've gotten to this place where I'm like, I really just need you to not talk to me for like 30 minutes in the morning and like the 30 minutes after we get home. Like, I just need you to be quiet.
Yeah, that has to be difficult too, because it's just you. It's
Right,
all you. And one of the blessings is that I have somebody to tag out,
right,
like tag,
right.
but so that has to be very challenging to.
Yeah, but it's great that she wants to ask me these questions, and and most of the time we're having fun. But it's just like when I'm tired and grumpy, and then stressed because we're also dealing with some home ownership drama, leaks and broken air conditioning, and the master bathroom doesn't have a ceiling because of a leak right now. Like it's just drama. So all of that together, I was like, I just want to put on my good pajamas, and I just want to lay in my bed, and I want to be selfish, and I want some chocolate cake, and it's just not gonna happen.
Well, maybe you can have one of those things. The bed
Well,
or the cake or the wine. Or the...
I'm just like I need to take off a day from work and not tell her because otherwise she's like, "Hey, mom, are you in bed? Oh, is that cake? Is it cake? Is there any more? Can I have some of yours? Can you scoot over? Like, what are we watching? Can we watch Law and Order? Can I change the channel? Like, it's just,
Oh, I just want to give you a little hug. I just want to. You okay, baby?
and I'm just like, here, you can have the cake. You can just have it. Why don't you go eat it in your room? No, I'm really comfortable here. Yeah. So, it's great. It's great though. But so that's kind of what's been going on around these parts. So it's good. Here's the good news. We're just living.
Yeah, that's
And
the good news, right?
and it's
Because that's the
completely
normal part of
normal.
it.
It's completely normal and it's just like and sometimes I have to take stock and just stop and say, "Oh my God, this is like there's like no drama." There's no real drama other than like, she's 13 and we just got BS drama around being 13. But other than that, it's just like, this is living. We're just living. And it's
Right.
kind of cool. So
And that's been a journey to get there too.
it
So
has, it has. And I'm really fortunate because they've been reading a lot of, catching up on some other bloggers. And a lot of times it takes people a lot longer than the 6 months, 7 months we've been together to get to this place. So despite the fact that I don't want to share chocolate cake and lay in my bed, I am extraordinarily blessed that we are at this place of, temporary parental misery.
this too shall pass. This
It's
too
just a
shall pass.
phase. It's just a phase. So tonight, you did blog about this young man that you were asked to take a placement for, and you talked about your emotions, saying no, and everything. And so, we talked about. Well, let's talk about the matching process as well as, when you get a prospective match or a placement and kind of what happens and just emotionally some of the pieces that kind of go through your mind, especially when you have to say no. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the matching process that you went through with your agency, especially since you're doing foster to adopt?
Well, okay. So there's a couple of different things happening there. You can decide you want to foster, you can do foster to adopt, or you can just do straight adoption. And so we did foster to adopt. Um, if you're doing just straight foster, you can right. You can say that I want a certain age of child, or you can say, um, yeah, you can take a sibling group, or whatever your house will accommodate. And when they call, they'll call you. Um, what actually happens is a bulletin comes across the screen where they have an emergency placement, and they'll call you and they'll say, we need a home for this child. And we don't have a lot of information. So we don't know if we haven't tracked down their family. We haven't tried to do anything. We just got a call that we have a child, and that we need to place fairly soon. And they will go down the list of looking for people who kind of fall within the parameters of the match. So if they have, in this case, they have a 12-year-old boy. So they'll go down the list and try to call people within their agency that said, I'm open to a 12-year-old boy. I'm open to up to 16-year-old boys. I'm open to, something like that. Now, in our specific instance, we have not said that we are open for 12-year-old boys, so I'm not really sure why they called us, but I think they just really need a match. So that's what happens when you're doing a foster match. When you're doing a foster to adopt or adoption match, typically what happens is these children have been in the system for a while, and judge has decided that our CPS has decided that their case is trending towards adoption by a non-relative. So at this point, they've probably exhausted looking for other people within the family to take the child. They still may be having visits with their parents, but the visits either are not going well or the parent isn't working their plans. The parents aren't working their plans appropriately. And so they want to place the child in an adoptive home, just in case the parent does not meet what they're working towards. And so what they'll do is called a RAS, and that's what we participated in. And with that, you can be very much more, I think, discreet in what you're interested in. And so for us, we were interested in an African American girl, 0 to 2 years old. And so you can say whatever you're interested in. So again, same with foster, you can say I'm looking for a sibling group, and I'll take up to age 10. Or I don't want any newborn, so I only take 18 months and older. I'm open to any race or ethnicity. Or I only want, ethnicity, the same ethnicity as me. So you can choose that. And what happens is when, again, this is a broadcast comes out, and they said, we're looking for adoptive placements for these children. And they'll send a picture and some description of what happens. And your agency can submit, typically in where I live, our agency can submit up to 2 names from each agency. And then they'll submit 2 families, and then I look at it like a job placement.
Wow.
The kind of application process. So CPS will go through all the applications. They'll pick out their top 3 candidates, and then the agencies then have to come and represent their family. So that's what happened with us. And then CPS, the agency workers and everybody will sit around a table. They'll talk through everybody. They'll look at your picture book, your life book, and then they'll decide what they think is the best match. And that's how we got matched with Nana.
Wow.
So that is the matching process.
So how did you feel about the process? Like during the process, as it was kind of unfolding, did you feel like you were really being heard? Did you get to ask about behaviors? Especially, I mean, since Nana is so young, I have an older child, so we had a little bit of a different situation, but what kinds of questions did you ask, and did you feel like you were adequately represented? I mean, you have Nana, so I'm assuming the answer might be yeah, but how did you feel about the process?
Honestly, I'll be honest, I just felt kind of swept along with the process. I don't know if I felt like as much of an active participant. It's kind of like I felt like you put in your general characteristics that you want, and then just kind of submit your name for whatever comes up.
Oh, wow.
So
it's like you went to the American Girl store.
Yeah, basically. That's how I felt. And I can understand that, because again, foster care is not about finding a child for you, specifically you as a family. Foster care is about finding a loving and stable home for a child. So I'm not necessarily they're interested in making a match, but they're not necessarily um, building a child based on your specifications,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
so it makes sense that I kind of felt that way. Like, oh, you said you wanted a African American child, and you said two, so I submitted you for a 4-year-old. I submitted you for a newborn. I submitted you for anything that is kind of close to the range, and then once I get some more information, then I can call you and ask you, how do you feel about it?
Wow.
Because they called us for a newborn baby boy at one point, and we absolutely said we didn't want boys. So again, their goal is to find a home for a child, not
Hmm.
a child for you. So,
Gotcha. Huh.
what about you? How does it work with your agency?
So, if you're new to my blog or to the podcast, I used a private agency, we go through all of the stuff that everybody goes through with all the training and stuff. But then we had, when we finished the home study, we get this matching tool. And actually, I found one online. I'm going to try something new tonight,
Can you
Mimi.
show it online?
I'm going to try to do a screen share. So hang on
Okay.
here. I got a whole bunch
Hold
of
on,
screen.
hold on with us.
Here we go. I'm going to start the screen share on this screen. So this is just one that I found online, but it seems to be pretty similar. And this one is, I guess, from somewhere in Minnesota. We can put a link to it just for an example later, because I couldn't find another one that seemed to be really as extensive. But this is the kind of document that I was given to fill out. And you can see here that it has, can you foster these strengths in a child? And it has a bunch of different things. And then, can you parent a child with these kinds of medical issues? And it just goes on and on. Behavioral issues and on and on. I mean, it just goes on. I think that the one that I'm going to see, how do I do this now? How do I stop the screen share? Am I back? Okay,
Yes, you're
cool.
back.
Awesome. Woohoo, we tried something new.
I know.
I think that the one that I filled out was like 29 pages.
Oof.
And it is like, yes, no, maybe.
Right.
And I mean, it gets at 29 pages, you can imagine that it gets incredibly specific about behaviors, medical issues, the child's history, things they've been exposed to, parental stuff that they've experienced. I mean, you name it, it's on there. Stuff that I had never even thought of, stuff that I had to Google because I was like, oh, is that the formal name for that? Okay. And you have this idea, and I mean, I hear that certainly private agencies use this, and it's particularly important with older child adoption because, I mean, we're not ordering,
Right.
I'm not going, and we're not ordering either, but in some ways we kind of are. We're like, can we're a little bit more specific because I wasn't doing foster to adopt. I went straight to adoption.
Right.
And so we kind of are ordering, and my agency is in the process of finding my order, right? And so we get this document, and it's so specific, and you have this idea of what you think you can parent, and even what you think in terms of behaviors, medical issues, experiences that you can tolerate. You're like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal, until you're finally like, okay, well, can I really deal with that? Can I really deal with a kid who not only has sexual abuse but is exhibiting predatory behavior?
Right.
And how am I going to deal with that? A kid that is already dealing with substance abuse issues. How am I going to deal with that? And those kinds of things. And it makes you. I think I hear a lot of people when I'm not on the blog so much as on Facebook posts, but I hear a lot of people kind of get stuck on the matching tool because it makes the inventory is so extensive that you really have to be thoughtful and honest. And I mean, of course, yeah, you should be honest, but like, can you really deal with this? in the
Right.
flesh in your house.
I think that's important. You know what? They actually provided that tool for us too. I think the difference when you going straight adoption, like you're saying, is typically the child is older, so they
Hmm.
have more experience or more information about the child, maybe.
Yeah.
And the transition time can be longer than when you're doing foster care, where
Hmm.
there either is an immediate need or, like I said, when they put out a call for candidates or families
Yeah.
with that. So we filled out something similar to that, but I can't say that I feel like they're looking at that when they're, does
Yeah.
this match up with what
Yeah.
I don't feel like that necessarily. But again, we're only looking at 0 to 2. So that's
Right.
still a very young age to even identify some of those behaviors.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really, I mean, it was a really important phase, and for me, it was probably one of the most critical and personally draining phase. Like the home study,
Right.
okay, I'll admit, I cried all through the first one. I thought, oh my God, my social worker is gonna be like, unstable, like you cannot.
Right.
Unstable, unfit. Like, and I think it was just like the stress of it all, like, had freaked me out so bad that then I couldn't stop crying when she got here. And so, before she came back, I made sure I got into the doctor and gotten something to kind of help me, like, stabilize all that out. But
Smooth it out.
better living through chemistry. But when I sat down, because I mean, for me, it's alone, and I was sitting here, and I'm like, you read blogs, like I am like, amazed by people like Serial Adopter, and I love her blog. Shout out to her. But she's an amazing person, and her family are just so open-hearted and beautiful, and they've adopted these amazing kids, and I was thinking to myself, like, can I adopt the type of children that they have been called to adopt? And I couldn't. And I'm so grateful that there are folks that, could check the boxes that I couldn't on
Right.
that form.
Hmm.
Because I'm telling you, out of 29 pages, I probably cried on 15 of them.
Right. I would agree because there are some things that were just a no go. And I also think we trended towards being very conservative
Hmm.
in our, because I do think that you really also need to read a lot and ask a lot of questions or find other people who are going through this or have been through this, because some of these things you just don't have any experience with. So if you're reading about fetal somebody, a child that's been exposed to alcohol in the womb, right,
Yeah.
versus a child that's been exposed to drugs in the womb, you know
Right.
so depending on who you talk to, some people are like, hey, you can probably deal with the drugs but
Right.
not the
Not the
alcohol.
alcohol. Right.
Right. And so without reading that information, you just don't really know what to do. And probably um, your first um, your first thought is to go on the more conservative route. And interestingly, my home study worker told me that African Americans tend to be a lot more conservative
Mm.
in their kind of adoption and foster care practices, and probably because of that,
Mm.
because already other people's children, so
Well, yeah,
already it started with that,
there's
and
other people's
then
kids, other
added
people's
on
kids
these
with
other.
kids, yeah, with
Yes,
issues.
right. So
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting piece, though, that we'll probably have to explore a little bit about African Americans and maybe people of color and kind of the trending kind of desires that may lean a little bit more conservatively. We'll have to make a note of that to maybe come back to that at some point in another podcast because I think it's an interesting thing to kind of talk about.
now you mentioned that you said no. So you did have to say no one time, and
Hmm.
you want to talk a little bit about what happened?
Yes. So yeah, and we can put a link to that. It was one of my first blog post. It was probably pretty early when, probably within a couple of weeks or so after I started blogging, and my social worker interestingly kind of asked me this question on her first visit, and it seemed so random. In fact, it was random. We still talk about how random it was. And she was like, "Would you take a transgender kid?" And I just started laughing
Was it
because
a nervous laugh? Like,
um,
I don't know how to answer this question.
no, I
So,
knew how to answer it, but it was just kind of, I thought it was a funny, I do believe that the Holy Homeboy just shows up and shows out. And a lot of my research for the last couple of years have been on LGBT issues.
hmm
And with a particular interest in transgender issue students, transgender graduate students, and you know, and so I just started laughing because I was like, really, like, how random is that? Like like a transgender kid? Okay, yeah, I can deal with that, And I also was thinking, as I said, absolutely, I can roll with that. I have the skills, I think, to be a supportive parent to that kid. That said, already in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, how am I going to explain
hmm
this?
right.
Because I'm going to tell you, on
The
that
family.
continuum, on that continuum of other people's kids, I could just see my family
Wait a minute, you have
going.
to repeat because I think I lost you. Can you
On,
repeat what you just said?
I said on that continuum of like other people's kids and the conservatism in terms of trending and our choices around adoption, I could just see Um, it's not a piece of information that a lot of people would need to know, but
Right.
I can imagine that my immediate family would know, like they would know,
hmm
and so like deal with how do we navigate just the immediate family, who
Right.
I'm sure would be loving and all that kind of stuff, but they don't do what I do for a living and don't have some of that nuance. And so I started thinking about that and was like, okay, well, what's the likelihood of that happening? So I got the I got the profile for Hope, and then I got a profile for like the next day I got a profile for um, um, a young woman, a transgender child, same state actually, and and I got the profile and I read it, and it was interesting because I had checked on my matching tool. Yes, I don't mind. I can absolutely deal with an LGBT kid, not a problem. Cool, I can roll with that. Didn't have any problems checking it on the matching tool and talking about it with the social worker and even my matching person, right, the staff person. But then they sent me this profile and they were like, "Yay! We found one. She's perfect. She's transgendered. You like transgender kids. Merry Christmas!" Like we
The perfect match.
the perfect match. And I was like, okay. And so, I was like, okay, well, tell me more about her and, what's kind of the situation. And they're like, oh, she's great. She is great. Great. And I was like, okay. And so, it took about a week to kind of start pulling out information. And the state that she resides in, they actually had a specific coordinator for LGBT kids, an adoption coordinator for LGBT kids, because they're just so hard to place, right?
Yes.
And so I finally got her on the phone, and she was like, okay, so here's the situation. She is currently in an institution because she has a lot of emotional issues and she's kind of violent. And I was like,
That's not great.
so, so I was like, I called my my person, and I'm like, so let me get this straight. Was anything other than the T part on my matching tool a match with this kid? Like, was anything? Like, Like, because from what I've heard, we are not a match. And everyone wants to make this a match because she's transgender and I am willing to take a transgender kid. But all of that other bag of stuff that she's got, I can't, as a single parent, handle none of it.
Right.
Like, it's
Hmm.
just a big ball of I can't do it. And I felt like people were making me feel guilty because she is a transgender. You'll take a transgender, and why can't you look past all of this other stuff and make this work?
Mm.
And because she doesn't have many options, and it just put me in such an awful position until I was dodging phone calls, and it just was heartbreaking when I finally got up the courage to say I cannot do this. Like, and I can't believe that you guys are putting me in the position to have to say no because we don't match on any other level but this one.
Right. See, and again, I think again, it just there's always going to be this conflict in a way of interest, right? Because they really wanted to place this child with somebody that could deal with that issue, and that's the issue that to them stood out because maybe for them and what they see, institutions and violence, maybe part of the deal,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And it's interesting you talk about feeling guilty and people putting you in a position to say no, especially when you've already stated that this is not in your wheelhouse. So, with the situation that I talked about on our blog, it was a 12-year-old boy, and he had an adoption placement, and I think it was his second adoption placement that was disrupted. And African American boy, and of course, they were like, he is wonderful. He
He is
just wants
awesome.
somebody to play basketball with, and he just needs a man around,
Aww.
and I think Wood would be awesome. And I mean, he's an awesome father to Nana, and I think he would be I really can't wait to see him with a son. But we have never said to our agency, our license is not even for males. We are licensed. We're licensed for two females. So
Wow. Wow.
we have never said that we would be capable of taking a young man, and never have said that we're capable of taking a 12-year-old. And I just felt so bad for this boy because I just felt like two disruptive placements, and I
Mm,
just think about my husband. I think, yeah, he probably just does need just somebody like my
yeah.
husband around. I just really just think he's great, but um, we just can't do it. Like, we're
Right.
still just getting acclimated to being parents of Nana, right? And
Right.
then to add in a 12-year-old boy, it just felt so crazy. I'm like, wait a minute, I got a 2-year-old girl here. I don't know what's going on, you know?
Right.
And hmm,
Yeah, right. No, I mean, you got a lot going on already.
well, I just felt like adding in for my husband's professor, he's like, that's a grown man. I mean, he has some choice words to say about it. He's a lot more colorful than I am. But let's just say he's probably around puberty stage and all this stuff. He's like, oh, no, we cannot handle that right now. And I just felt so bad having to say no, but I'm also kind of upset with them that they even again put me in the position. And one of the things that I mentioned in my blog is that the caseworker said, because I said, we just are getting acclimated to having a 2-year-old in the house. And she said, yeah, I know you have your beautiful prized possession. And it
Mm,
it made me, I felt some kind of way because I felt like underlying that comment was saying, you got what you wanted and now you want to abandon the system.
mm,
That's what I felt like was underlying that comment. And it felt very manipulative and kind of disrespectful, honestly, to say
Yeah.
that as though our our intentions, well, you don't know what our intentions are, but to kind of just know, well, you got what you wanted, so you probably don't care about anybody else, any other kids in the system. That's kind of how I felt what she was saying. So
Mm. Yeah, I felt some kind of way when I read that too. And as an
yeah.
educator, I started deconstructing that. And then I just had to walk away because I was like, possession,
Mhm.
and
Right.
it just kind of reduces adoption and family building to this like equation kind of, A plus B. You jump through these hoops.
Right.
For some of us that use private adoption, you pay this money and voila. And it just, yeah, I was offended. I was righteously indignant and offended on your behalf.
Like, you have the unmitigated gall to say that to me, and it just, and for somebody who knows my family, I mean, I've done fundraisers for this agency and everything. I'm like, I'm not the type of person that just came and got a child and was like, peace, I'm out. So, mm,
Hmm.
no, we shouldn't be treating parents that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially people who are opening their homes, regardless of what you feel like their motivations are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wow. Yeah, I did. I read your blog post and I thought about my own from last year, about a year ago, and I just, there are nights where I wonder what happened to that child, and I pray
Hmm.
about her and just kind of hope that she found a family that could love her and heal, participate in her healing, her emotional healing, and that could really support her in living authentically
Right.
and living her truth. And I'm sad that I couldn't do that, but I just was like, I am single parenting, holding this thing together with like duct tape and paper clips. I can't, you
I
know,
can't do it.
I can't.
It's
There's
too
just some stuff that
much.
I was like, there are some things that are just not in my wheelhouse. And I will say for folks that are watching, and I don't know if anybody's watching, or we haven't had the Q&A box is open, and we're about to get ready to move to our next segment on pop culture. But if you're entering this phase and you get that tool, take your time. I would have to say lots of people take different times during the process of, okay, they got all the paperwork and you got the pride classes or whatever they call them in your jurisdiction. Then you have the home study, which surprises me how long some people's home studies take, because mine took
Mhm.
like a month and it was done. But that particular document, or whatever is like it, take your time and really, really think about what you um, can parent. Not
Right.
that what you're not willing to parent, but what you can parent and what you're willing to try to parent. And because that's not the time to like cut and run.
Right. And I would
Yeah.
add to that, when if you're going through foster care, or doing the foster to adopt, when you receive those calls, say yes when you can, right?
Mm,
But don't be afraid to, one, ask questions, as much questions, because you want them to give you as much information as they can, but then don't be afraid to say no when it's not something that you can do, because again, their impetus is going to be to lean forward, right? So they're
yeah.
going to push you um, past what you said that you can deal with. So say yes when you can, but say no when you know it's not the right thing for
Yeah.
your.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you're using a private agency, just remember that you're using that agency as your advocate. It's a bit of a different situation with private adoption, and they're your advocates. That's why you chose a particular agency for the services and support that they offer you. They are professionals at matching. And I can honestly say that my agency ultimately did an amazing job. Like, I love Hope. Like, people even say we look alike, which still kind of freaks me out. We are well suited for each other. They did a great job in matching us. But I will say that I did torment myself a lot in that decision and hiding from my own agency, because when I finally told her, she was like, okay, well, let's close that chapter and move on.
Right.
And that's what, that's the service that you should expect.
And even honestly, with foster care, they're used to hearing no,
Yeah.
right? And I know on the forums, a lot of times they say, "Well, you don't want to say no too many times. You say yes for your family, and you say no for your family."
Yeah.
And my guidance would be not to worry about that, because you have to do what's right for you and your family.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. So it is.
We
We
got a
got
little deep, so
15
I'm ready to
minutes.
move
I
on to
know,
something,
right? I
something a
know.
little less deep.
It's so funny because this segment is the second time we're doing our little pop culture joint, and the last time Mimi and I watched our own recap. Oh my,
Yeah.
turned down for what? So
Yes. I got my little Rashida Ratchet ponytail, side ponytail on, so I'm ready for it. Let's go.
so tonight we are going to be talking about Married at First Sight, which is a new show.
Yes.
And what is the network? The network used to be A&E, but what's the network?
Did it used to be it's
I thought
FYI, I
it's
think.
FYI.
I don't know, cause I don't I don't know what it used to be, but I think it's FYI. I think that's the network that it's on now. And
Yes.
it is a reality based show, and it's about I think it's a sexologist, a psychiatrist, and a spiritual advisor all get together and match people up for marriage, and they put people together in an arranged marriage. So the first time that they see each other is on their wedding day, and they get to get married. They go on a honeymoon, and then they live together for 5 weeks. And then at the end of 5 weeks, they decide whether they want to give it a go or whether they want to have their marriage annulled. So, have you seen the show?
It's so funny when you emailed me about it. I binged watched, I guess, the first 3 episodes a couple weeks ago, and then I didn't, and like I haven't had a chance to like catch up. I mean, and I ended up binge watching it because I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
just
so
could not turn it
interesting.
off. I couldn't turn it off, and apparently it has lit up the internet when it first like came out, because the wedding episode, like if you don't watch anything else, you got to watch the wedding episode. Like these people are like coming down the aisle like do 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 do. Okay, this is really happening.
I hope he looks good. I know. I hope she looks. I hope she's not a dog. I can't even imagine the first day that you see your husband on the day that you get married. I mean,
Right.
even people who actually do arranged marriages don't do it like that. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, it was just kind of crazy. And then I'm like sitting there going, wait a minute, there are people, their families and friends are attending, meaning they're co-signing on this crazy. Like, that was
And they have a black couple on there, and the guy's mother was there. I'm like, ooh, what did
I
he
was
say
like,
to get his mom there? Because
we're going to
I
have
can't
grandbabies.
imagine
That's what
his mom being like, I'm okay with this.
I know, I kind of was shocked, but I was like, we got to show up at least in
Well,
one
she
everywhere. We
might
got
have
to
been
have like
like,
little
I'm
turkey.
just glad he's getting married because I didn't think it was gonna happen for him. So she might have been like that too.
She might have been
Because
giving him the side
Vaughn is
eye.
Vaughn is something else.
Else.
Yes,
There's
he
something
is.
there's something else. But yeah, there's the one couple where the bride comes down the aisle and she is like, no. Like
She
she's
is.
in the hallway after they got married, crying, laid out, crying, like I mean, it was terrible.
Well, why
She's
did
like,
she go through with it, right? Because you still have agency in the. I mean, you could have just said no. I can't do it. I'm done. So apparently, she thought he was a monster. That's how she described him to his family. I said,
yeah.
how rude.
Dude. And I was like, he's not bad looking, he's all right. He's not, a stunner, but he's okay. He's all right,
Let me
and
tell you. Her name is Jamie and his name is Doug. Let me tell you what changed Jamie's mind when Jamie went on the honeymoon and Doug took off his shirt and she saw the little V cut going on. She was like, "Oh, okay."
Hey,
That's what happened to change her mind. I'm just like, I think I'm falling in love
I
with
love with
Doug.
him. I think I like him. I do. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a really really cool show. It's a really cool show. It's really odd though. So
Well, let me tell
how
you
did you
this.
stumble over it? Yeah.
I actually a long time ago, and I don't know if it was in Ebony or Essence. I saw an article, and it has always stuck with me about a lady who, African American lady who did an arranged marriage, and it was her friends did it. Her friends and family found someone
Hmm.
for her and set her up. Um, and I guess his friends and family, and they did an arranged marriage. And I don't remember the content of it. I should have just looked it up. But when I look at this show, I honestly don't think it's an awful idea. Um, if I were to remake this, I would have friends and families involved because I think your family has a lot of perspective on what you really vibe with and who would be
Hmm.
good for you. And that's how traditionally arranged marriages are put together, not a psychologist who gives you a questionnaire. That's fine. But I think your family and friends are like, yeah, but I also have talked to her over the years and seen her or him progress, and this is what I think would work for him. The other thing I think is really makes it not really an arranged marriage is the fact that in 6 weeks or 5 weeks you can get it annulled.
Yeah.
So the fact the cultural reference, so the difference with an arranged marriage is you already grow up in the culture where I know I'm going to get married to somebody.
Right.
Marriage is the way we begin a family. It's not necessarily a love thing,
Right.
it's what we do to continue and build society.
Right.
But in our culture, that's not how marriage is looked at. So I think it's hard for someone to stick with that
Right.
knowing I can leave in 6 weeks.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not to me. I'm like, why did he even get married? Why not just have them cohabitate?
Yeah, just shack up like one of those other reality shows. What is it like, couples therapy or whatever, or something like that. But it's a novel idea. If you look at the website, apparently it's based on a Danish show.
I heard, yes.
So they're getting down like this in Denmark. So
So
wow.
who do you think is going to make it?
Um, Well, I hope that the little firefighter guy makes it. He and they are just too cute, and they were just recklessly eyeballing each other when they kind of like got to the altar. They were like, "Hey, how you
They were like, oh, this is
doing?"
when.
you know, like when the photographer took them out on the street to do their like wedding photos. I was like, they look like they really are like they're doing this. Like they really look like they're doing this. Versus the other
I
couples
think
were
they were
like,
really happy with their match.
they were very happy with their match, at least physically. They were really happy with their match. But then the other ones were like, okay, we're playing a role.
Yeah.
you know. So I kind of just felt like they were really attracted to each other. They had some good chemistry. So I'm rooting for them. I'm really rooting for them.
What do you think about Vaughn and Monet?
I don't think it's gonna work out. They make a gorgeous couple, but I don't think it's gonna work out.
You know what? It's interesting. Okay, I'm probably gonna get blasted for this, but when I hear Monet talk, and I like Monet,
Hmm.
but I wonder if that's how black men see black women, um, because her tone of voice always seems so harsh when
Sharp.
she's talk. Yeah, just very. Well, how do you want me? It's just. Uh, and I
It's
think I was watching
perpetually
her like,
defensive. It's perpetually offensive or defensive. Like, I mean, there's not like a hey, monotone, just kind of we're just kicking it. It's always like some type of on.
yeah. And I watched her and I looked at my husband like, I wonder if he Thanks. That's what I sound like to him, like Monet, 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 Monet. When I'm talking, I was like, I need to work on this. So at least that's a takeaway that I'm taking away from that. So,
Send your recommendation for the week.
yeah, work on your tone of voice. Monet, if you're watching, calm
Well,
down a little.
it is a really, really cool show. I am rooting for them, but I'm also rooting for what's her Doug and
Jamie.
Jamie, because I like Doug, and she just straight carried him like through that wedding episode, and I just felt bad. And he's like, dude, I'm a good guy, like, I'm all right, just,
She was so mean to him.
she was
I like
mean.
Doug. I don't really like Jamie. So
Oh, I don't
I
like
want
her.
Doug to have a nice life, not with her, with somebody
So,
else.
let me, so,
Because I think she's kind of a mean person. So,
so
oh,
here's
wait a minute.
here's.
We have a comment. So,
Oh, they watched all.
my sister, all the episodes, and I said the same thing about Monet. She's always yelling. Yes, that is the truth.
So yeah, so I guess like I need to go back and look. I haven't seen. I saw only part of the episode when they went on the honeymoon, and so I thought I was gonna have some time to catch up on that, but didn't get a chance to this evening. So when I treat myself this weekend, I plan on binge watching a bit more of that.
Let's connect a little bit about how you feel about Vaughn and because I don't think it's not just Monet that's
He seems
causing
a he
issues.
seems a I mean, the wedding day he seemed accommodating and everything, but he seems like he has a little control
See, he's a little
issue.
particular.
He's particular. Like
Yes.
it's like his margins are pretty narrow.
Yeah. And that's this I think he has a vision of what he wanted and expected
Her to
and what he thought he wanted, he probably
yeah.
filled out the questionnaire wrong. That's what I think. I'm like, I don't think you filled out your questionnaire correctly.
Another reason to take your time on your matching tool.
Take your time. And that questionnaire looked long too, and it looked bogus too. I was like, they couldn't upgrade that questionnaire on the bed, but anyway, it's a low budget production.
Well, apparently, I just see on the internet that they've been renewed for the next season. So peep the show. It is on FYTV, and if you're not a cable watcher, you can subscribe, or you can watch full episodes right on the website. They're just giving it away. Pretty
Oh,
awesome.
well, that's good. But
Yeah.
the second season of things are never the same. Once people
Right.
figure out how things work, then they just come on acting crazy. So
Right. Next thing you know, they'll be flipping tables like Jersey.
yeah, doing all kind of crazy stuff. He's like, how do these people make it past security? You know.
Security,
So
but yeah, so peep that. The wedding dresses were great. People looked fantastic. Monet and Vaughn looked fantastic on their wedding day.
they did. They
Look
really did.
they look
They
so
make a
boss.
very cute couple to
They
me.
do. They
But
do.
honestly, okay, quiet as it's kept, I don't really think Vaughn liked what he said he wanted. Like, I feel like he said he wanted a thick, curvy girl and really didn't. I see you sipping over there. Like, but I'm
Pouring one
sipping. I'm
out for
sweet.
the curvy girls, but out for the curvy girls. But yeah, it's a cool show, so I'm looking forward to catching up on that. It's not
So
it's
that's
not
one of our recommendations.
Yes, that's one of our things. So yeah, that's one of our recommendations. So we've got just a couple minutes left before we wrap up. So, Mimi, you got any other recommendations for the people?
I do. I have two recommendations. So, okay, I
Awesome.
have a ratchet recommendation and I have a
Awesome.
regular recommendation. So, which one do you want?
Oh, we want the ratchet one.
Okay, so with the ratchet recommendation, so during the spring and summertime, I like to partake in a little summertime snack called sunflower seeds. It keeps me grounded to my roots and everything. So what I found, I've been, trying out these different flavored sunflower
Mhm.
seeds.
Mm.
I need to share this with you guys. Look at this. It
Yeah.
is called sizzling bacon
Bacon?
sunflower seeds. And
Where the
I
devil
am
did you
not
get those?
ashamed. I found these at the convenience store. See,
I was gonna
that's
say.
where you have to go. See, you cannot go to the grocery. You cannot go to the Whole Foods and get these where the bougie black people shop. You have to go to the convenience store to get these. This is where you cannot pay at the pump. You have to go inside. Okay, so these
Where
are
they
called
sell Lucy's. Where they sell
sizzling
Lucy's.
sizzling bacon sunflower seeds. So if you happen to see these, just take a trip or ride around and go look for them. These are delicious. Okay, so
Bacon.
the
You know,
wine, it's the
it's
wine.
so funny because let me just make my public apology. It was like, where did you get those? Well, of course you got them from the bodega or the convenience store. They don't
Exactly.
sell that at Trader Joe's.
Right. No, not where you shop normally. You have to make a special trip for this, and it is worth it. Okay.
So you can get your sunflower seeds at a Lucy.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so what's your other recommendation?
Okay, so this is a nice recommendation. This is for if you happen to be watching and you have a black child with natural hair. One thing that I really like for Nana's hair is Oyen handmade products. Are you familiar with them?
I am. I've never tried them, but yes.
Yeah, so what I use on her hair, I use there's a whip shea butter that I use, and then there's also a is that ratchet too?
No, I'm sorry. Monique just posted. The sunflower seeds has them weak on the chat. They're weak. They're just falling out.
Wait a minute. Okay, this is the real deal. Okay, let's not get into the sunflower seeds. Okay?
We're gonna come back to that. We'll have a podcast, all things
I'm trying to
ratchet.
be serious over here and tell y'all about Oyen
Right.
handmade, and y'all back on the bacon. But everything tastes better with bacon. They should make okay. Oyen
Amen.
handmade products, and I heard you can get them at Target, but
Oh,
I live in the bougie area, so I'm happy that they got like 3 black products over at my Target. So they do not have Oyen handmade, but I think you can get them, and you can get them online. I usually order them online. So they are great natural products to use on natural hair. Those are my
awesome.
recommendations.
That is fantastic because I know that in future we have plans to talk about natural hair and kids' hair and all of that jazz. So we will definitely come back up with that. I don't have any recommendations except for treat yourself.
Treat
And
yourself.
this week, the next 2 weeks, I have yet another goal of finding my way to the bed with some cake or cookie dough and my bottle.
And the nice pajamas,
And the
of which
nice
I think we need a snapshot of it, because I really feel like I'm missing out on these pajamas.
you get just
Will they be husband approved?
they would be husband approved. Yeah, they feel so good. They feel so good. I think I've lost
They
you.
have a
Oh
lot
no,
of
there you go.
like they cover
So
you up too much. I don't think that's gonna be approved.
yeah, but they feel so good. But they feel so. They come. Okay, never mind. I was just.
Uh, the wine. We probably need to wrap this up before it get a little too crowded
11:03.
on here.
So tell us where they can find you, Mimi.
They can find me at my blog at Complicated Melody with an I, complicatedmelody.wordpress.com, or you can find me on the Twitters at Mimi Complex. And what about you?
I am at I'm in the internet streets at AdoptiveBlackMom.wordpress.com and at AdoptiveBlackMom on the Twitters. So
I
yes,
do want to say this though before we leave. If tweet us with how you're with the hashtag #AddWater
yes,
and the hashtag treat yourself,
treat
and
yourself.
let us we keep messing this up. Treat yourself.
Sip.
With those hashtags, and let us know how you're treating yourself, and we will read them out loud on our
Yes.
podcast.
Yes. No matter what stage you are in the process, if you're just kicking it with us, just tweet us and let us know how you're doing and how you're taking care of yourself. Self-care is very, very important. So, and on that note, I think
All
we're gonna be out.
the wine. See you in 2 weeks.
2
All
weeks.
right. Good night.
Good night.